This is some type of black wasp laying eggs. However, this wasp doesn't have a head. Last week it was struggling to get out of my kitchen window, and I seriously injured it as I tried to push it out. It was twitching on my windowsill, so I decided to put it out of its misery. I cut off its head and was then surprised to see the body start to lay eggs. I picked it up by its wing and put it on this piece of black plastic and grabbed the camera. It laid a few neat rows of eggs. This is a good example of how reproduction is the goal of all living creatures. The body of the wasp realizes that it will soon die, and so it desperately struggles to fulfill its purpose and lay its eggs. Although the eggs may not develop properly, evolution has created creatures that take the chance and struggle to save their babies as they are dying. Humans will do this also. Notice that it is not simply dumping its eggs. The tail of this wasp knows how to sweep back and forth to lay neat rows of eggs. What is inside its body that controls this operation? After it was finished, I pushed the eggs into a tiny plastic container and put them into a drawer. 2 days later, I took them out and noticed that they were starting to turn brown and had developed 2 spots that looked like eyes. I soon noticed that some of them were wiggling. Apparently, these are not eggs. They don't have any eggshells. They are some type of larva. I don't know if they were on the verge of hatching or if the light was causing them to become active, but as I was watching them, more of them began crawling around. After a few minutes, most of them were crawling. I put one of them on my fingertip so that you can see how small it is. The pile of larvae looks brown, but the individual larvae look white with a dark head and some green internal organs. Here is one crawling towards the camera so that you can see its face. They are so tiny and translucent that it's difficult to get good images of them, so I'll give you a few different views with the light coming from different directions. This one is on a piece of black plastic. Their mouth seems to be moving as they crawl, but it's not easy to figure out what their mouth looks like or what it's doing. Maybe they're tasting everything as they crawl. Here is one on a piece of clear plastic with the light coming from the side. As I was recording this video of them, I noticed that some of them were climbing up the sides of the plastic container. So, to prevent them from getting out, after I finished recording them, I put the entire plastic container inside another plastic container that had a lid. I assumed that they want some type of insect to eat, but in case they would drink plant juice, I gave them a couple flowers and a piece of a leaf. However, they didn't show any interest in eating that plant material. Here you can see the small white container inside the larger container, and you can see the flower and the leaf. They were capable of climbing up the sides of this container also. I was amazed to find that some of them were crawling upside down on the lid. When I looked closely at the lid, it appears as if they were wet, and water was allowing them to cling to the lid. I suppose moisture was building up in the container. As they crawl around, their mouth is constantly tasting everything. I took out the plant material and put in a freshly killed spider, and I crushed the spider a bit so that some of its juices flowed out. But they didn't seem interested in that either. They are finicky eaters. It was a bit disturbing to think that some of them had already escaped from the container, and that they might be looking for some animal or human to dig into, like a parasitic worm. Every time I felt a sensation on my skin, I had visions of them burrowing into it. So after I made this video, I threw them in the garden.